Hello everyone, my name is Ezra and welcome to I Heart Romance where I talk about anything romance. Since half of the year has gone, I wanted to share my best and worst reads published for the first half of 2007. I actually have reread quite a number of books that were published before January, but I will not include those. I actually rated some of them 5 out of 5 stars. But anyway, when I looked through this year's reads, I discovered that I didn't have a lot of new books with a rating of 5 stars. Not sure why that is, but I guess it's because I've been very particular in rating books now. I guess. Not sure. Anyway, I will also leave the links of the books and my full review in the description below. I actually reviewed this on my blog, so if you want a full review, you can go visit my blog for that review. Anyway, let's start with the best. Oh, and I just want to remind you that if you haven't read any of the books that I'm going to be sharing, there will be spoilers, so you have been warned. Anyway, let's get started. So the first book that I want to talk about is Devil in Spring by Lisa Kleypas. It's actually one of my best reads this year, and this is the third book in the series, in the Ravenel series, and it features Gabriel, Lord St. Vincent, and Lady Pandora Ravenel. If you are familiar with Lisa Kleypas' books, you already know that Gabriel is Evie and Sebastian's son from Devil in Winter. So anyway, I was really excited when I got this book. I actually bought the hard copy, and I hardly see hard copies of historical romances. So I'm so happy that they came out in hardcover. And look at the gorgeous cover. Don't you just want to wear the gown? Anyway, this book is about Pandora, who has some sort of ADD, and she's a twin that I didn't expect to get an HEA first, only because she is very odd. She's a little odd. But anyway, Gabriel is perfect for her. And I know this is weird that Gabriel got partnered with someone that was a little odd and with ADD, because his mom, Evie, if you have read Devil in Winter, Evie, his mom, actually has a stutter, and still stutters actually, even actually the first chapter, let's see, I'm not sure if it's the prologue, but let's see, it is the prologue. So anyway, it is the prologue. The prologue actually shows a short scene, and I think it's very nice of Lisa Kleypas to do that. It was for the fans. It's a short scene between Evie and Sebastian when they're a little older and they already have grandkids, and it's a little short, steamy scene. Steamy-ish with no sexy times, but anyway, so it's a short scene, and you can still see that Evie still has her stutter, and I thought that Gabriel was perfect for that because he understood, like, he accepted Pandora the way that she is and did not actually ask her to change. And it's weird because Pandora is a very interesting character, and I love the nod to the landowners game. I recently watched the history of Monopoly, and they actually mentioned the landowners game, which was created by a female, and she's basically been lost in history, and for the life of me I cannot remember her name. And actually Lisa Kleypas talked about that too, that when she did her research, because Pandora actually plays the landowners game in this book, and also she also is making her own board game to be distributed at Winterbourne's, her brother-in-law's department store. So very, very interesting, and she's a very, very interesting character. And anyway, another thing that I love about this book is there are a lot of wallflowers references. So, and also Marcus, uh I can't remember his title, but Marcus from Scandal in no from It Happened One Autumn actually makes an appearance, and I am so proud that I was able to know who he is, to guess who he is before he was actually revealed, because Marcus is dreamy and he makes an appearance. Anyway, and the next reason why I absolutely love this book is Dragon. So if you know, well, for those who haven't read this book, Dragon is actually the man who Gabriel assigned to watch over Pandora, because there is Pandora in this book. Pandora actually witnesses like a crime or something, and basically her life is in trouble, or is in danger. Her life is in danger, and he assigned Dragon, and I love Dragon. I can't remember his name now, but Pandora calls him Dragon because he looks like a dragon and he's like her boss. Very bossy, I mean. He's like her guardian, and basically they bond really well, and I absolutely love Dragon. And also, we see a short glimpse of the hero of the next book, which is Dr. Gibson's hero. And if you don't know, also for those who haven't read the Ravenel series, Dr. Gibson is a female physician, and we first meet her in I think we first meet her in Winterborn, in Marrying Winterborn. So if you haven't read Marrying Winterborn 2, it's an awesome book, but it was published last year. So that's it. Devil in Spring by Lisa Kleypas, and that's my first best read of this year. So the next book that I want to talk about is Bedchamber Games by Tracy Ann Warren, and it's also the third book in the Rakes of Cavendish Square series. This is also a spin-off series from her Byrnes of Braeburn series, and features another set of twins. Apparently twins are a thing this year. So this one features Lord Byron, Lawrence Byrne, and Rosamund Caro. So this is another one of the tropes that I absolutely love, because Rosamund Caro masquerades as a man so that she can be a lawyer, or a barrister, I think they call it a barrister, to help her brother when their uncle dies. And so obviously at this time, females were not allowed to be barristers. So she dressed up as a man, and because her brother also has a speech impediment, and not speech impediment, but they think that he is slow because he doesn't have confidence, so it takes him a while to talk, I guess, or maybe speech impediment again, I think. Anyway, so Rosamund pretends to be a man and beats Lord Byron, and he is like a hotshot barrister, doesn't want to be defeated, and he's interested, and there was a tiny bit of Lawrence kind of getting attracted to Ross. So Rosamund is Ross, getting attracted to Ross a little bit, until he discovers that she is female. So there are very steamy. They start a very steamy affair, and she is still masquerading as a man, and they meet up, and there are a few they basically almost got caught, and he's dressed as a man. And again, at this time, that is taboo. Anyway, I absolutely love this book because it was just so imaginative, and I love that it showed that, a woman dressed as a man just so she could represent and help her family, because her brother couldn't help because of his, impediment. I'm actually interested about her brother. The only thing that I didn't like about this book is Lawrence and Rosamund split up. She goes to the country, and discovers that she's pregnant, and he comes back. He goes to her and begs for forgiveness, I love you, and all that, declares all his love. So one of the things I absolutely hate is the getting pregnant part. Absolutely. Why does every woman have to get pregnant before they get married? So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it just feels like I read like a lot of books this year with exactly that, and it absolutely drives me nuts. Anyway, that's my best book, and I actually rated it 4.5 over 5. So it's a high rating. So one of my favorites. So the third book is An Affair with a Notorious Heiress by Lorraine Heath, and it is the fourth book in the Scandalous Gentleman of St. James series. And also, this is another spin-off series from Scoundrels, from her Scoundrels of St. James series, and this one features Alistair Mabry. He is the Marquis of Rexton, and this is Franny and Sterling's son from Surrender to the Devil. That is the third book in the Scoundrels of St. James series, and oh my god, I think this is the year of spin-offs, year of previous characters' kids, I guess, and I absolutely love it because these are the books that I read years ago that I absolutely loved. So anyway, Franny and Sterling, they have a son. So as a little background, Franny grew up in the Rookery, so she's not an aristocrat, and she marries the Marquis of Rexton, who is a duke. Anyway, they have a son. His name is Alistair, and what do you know? He gets bullied. He gets bullied because of his mom. They're saying that his mom is a loose woman, and of course not from the aristocracy and all that. So he was bullied as a child. So he vows that when he gets married, he's going to pick a woman with a spotless reputation, and so when he has a child, they wouldn't get bullied. Anyway, enter Tilly. So Tilly is Lady Lansdowne. Not sure if it's Lansdowne, but anyway. So enter our heroine Tilly, who is an American heiress and a divorcee who also managed to keep her title. So she ends up keeping her title. And the thing about that is her younger sister was going to debut, and Tilly, as a scandalous woman, is not accepted in ton events because of this. And so she couldn't be with her sister. She couldn't be her sister's so she couldn't be her sister's guardian at that time. Companion. Can't remember that term. Anyway, so she can't be there for her sister. So what happens is her uncle approaches. So Tilly's uncle approaches what's his name? Alistair, and says, you know what? If you can dance with I forgot the name of Tilly's sister. It was something simple. Anyway, so if you can dance with my niece, she will be more accepted because now you're heir to the dukedom, and you're showing you're an eligible bachelor and you're showing interest. So it will kind of pique it. I mean, it will actually make people interested, make people think twice and look at his niece. Anyway, he meets Tilly and convinces Tilly to accompany them to parties and basically seduces Tilly. He wasn't really wanting to marry her, but because he fell in love with her. And honestly, Tilly is such an amazing heroine, very unconventional. She is done with the ton and was planning to go back to America and live her own independent life. just live her own independent life, because I mean, after her sister gets married. So I just feel that very, very unconventional heroine. Plus she was able to keep her title. I've never heard that before. I think Lorraine Heath wrote an author's note about it somewhere, that someone did it, was able to do it. Anyway, so scandalous Tilly Scandals. He didn't want to marry someone who was scandalous, but because he fell in love with her, he was able to let go of his misgivings, and was able to marry her. So that's an affair with a notorious heiress. Now let's move on to my worst reads of the year so far. I actually have two. Which is pretty good. I've been pretty lucky with the books that I've read. I mean, I've DNF'd quite a few, but they were published prior to January 2017, so I did not count them. So anyway, the first book in this series is something that I was waiting for a number of years, maybe almost 2 years for. I've been waiting so much for this series because this book, because it's the last book in the series, and it is actually one of my favorite paranormal romance worlds, and it's Into the Fire by Jeaniene Frost. This is the last book in the Night Prince series, and it's I had such high hopes for this book. This is actually one of the Jeaniene. The first book in the series, Once Burned. Once Burned is actually the first book that I read written by Jeaniene Frost, and I fell in love with Vlad and Layla. So if you haven't read the series yet, Layla is able to read minds, and not really read minds, but Layla can't. If Layla touches something, she is able to see or feel like leftover energy. Anyway, she was struck by lightning when she was young, so everything she touches basically gets electrocuted. And she was in the first book, she was contracted to. She was kidnapped. She was kidnapped to look for Vlad. And you know who Vlad is? Vlad is Vlad the Impaler, the Dracula. And I absolutely love the gag that Jeaniene Frost put in, is because there's this short, I think it's in the first or second book, I can't remember which one, where Vlad admits that he is the person who leaked his identity to Bram Stoker when he was like pissed off and he was drinking in a bar. So that was funny. I liked it. I liked that nod to Bram Stoker. And basically he's like, yeah, I was the source of all this. Now I regret it because everybody's talking about me, you know? And it's one of those little things that Jeaniene Frost adds in the books that I absolutely love. But unfortunately, this was not the book that I liked at all. I absolutely hated it. I think I gave it a 2.5. I'm sorry, Jeaniene, but I absolutely hated. I hated Vlad. I hated Layla. Layla is a vampire and just super annoying. It was just meh. And basically the villain of the third book doesn't become the villain here, and he's not the villain anymore. I thought he was so mean in the third book. I love the third book, but I was like, I just hated it. Hate. Plus, one of my favorite characters die. How could she do that? I mean, it was a noble death, but Marty did not have to die. Please. Anyway, Marty is this, he's a dwarf, and basically he took Layla in when she left her house, left her family, because she didn't want to hurt her family. So she was taken in by a carny, and he is Martin, and I absolutely loved Martin from book 1 to the end, and she killed him. I'm just 2.5. I hate it. Hate. Anyway, another thing that I also hated was Ian. So Ian actually plays a big role in this book, and he totally overtook Vlad and Layla. They were not interesting. He was interesting, so I'm so happy to find out that he will be getting his own series, and it's called the Night Rebel novels. So he is a rebel, and Ian. So obviously, so for those who haven't read Jeaniene Frost before, she started her series as the Night Huntress novels, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's another. I think that is another video in itself, because Bones. That's all I'm going to say. Bones. Anyway, so he is Bones' friend, and he has a kind of he's an anti-hero basically, and now he's getting his own book, so his own series. So I'm super excited to find out who he's gonna fall in love with. There is already, I think, a heroine mentioned here, so I hope they do get together. Anyway, I think I've said enough about this book. It's just, I actually listened to it on audiobook, and if it wasn't read by Tavia Gilbert, I probably wouldn't have finished it. I was just hated it. Anyway, and 2.5 isn't really a DNF, and 2.5 isn't really a hate, but yeah, I was just so super disappointed by it. So the second book that I want to talk about is The Duke by Kerrigan Byrne, and this is the third book in the Victorian Rebels series. I was actually waiting for the series. I actually read it on the first. I actually finished reading it on the 1st of January this year, and it was horrible. I absolutely hated it, and I don't think it's because of the story. Well, I'll get to that later, but when I read the blurb on Goodreads, it said that the heroine was supposed to be a spy or of some sort, and when I read the book, I mean, when I received an arc for it, and when I read it, there was no spying going on. There was no spying. The heroine wasn't a spy, so I was totally confused, and I totally went in expecting this romantic, spy-ish thriller romance, and no, it wasn't. It wasn't. I was just super disappointed. I guess it must be my fault for not looking at Goodreads, but at the time that I looked at Goodreads, that was the blurb that was posted. I mean, I should have went to Kerrigan's website, but I didn't, and now it's fixed. The blurb on Goodreads, it's fixed, but when I read it, it was just not what I expected, so that was a bum, and it actually threw me off big time. So anyway, another reason that I had problems with it is Colin. He is the Duke of Trewith. Anyway, so he was injured in a war. He was taken captive and tortured. He lost his hand, almost died of septicemia. Then he went to America to look for our heroine, Jeaniene, who he had a one-night stand with a year ago, and he was climbing mountains and doing God knows what. But this happened within a year. So how could you go to war? How could you go to war, get kidnapped, tortured, lose your hand, die, almost have septicemia, and go to America and look for this girl within a year? I mean, isn't it impossible? Isn't it impossible? I thought it was just, and it's not because I'm a nurse, but it's just, drives me nuts. I don't know. At this time, Victorian era, I'm not sure how advanced their healthcare system is, but I don't think they had planes to go to Europe, to America within a few hours. So I would think weeks, even. I don't know. I just felt impossible to me. So that was another thing that threw me off. And I actually kind of liked Ginny, Imogen, and she did what she had to do. She did what she had to do to survive. So I totally respect what she did. So she married one of her patients. Well, one of her patients, she's actually a nurse, and she her patient asked her to marry him for companionship, and then so he could give her something. He could leave her something when he passed, and he passed a few months later, and she was very nice to him. So I totally respect that, and I totally liked her. So anyway, both so Imogen lives in this house that the Duke purchased for her, or the Duke left for her. Oh, I'm not even sure if it was the Duke who passed. But anyway, it's the house is right next to Colin's house, and Colin, for the life of Colin, absolutely hated Imogen, thought that she was a social climber and everything. So he was being a dick about her. But anyway, excuse my French. But uh so he was a pretty unlikable character. I didn't really like him. I didn't warm up to him even when he started to, fall in love with Imogen. Yeah, it wasn't one of my favorites. So unfortunately, I mean, I love Kerrigan, but I absolutely love. So if you do want to read Kerrigan's books, and if you haven't read her before, read The Hunter first. The Hunter absolutely tore at my heartstrings. The Hunter was perfection. I loved it. I read it last year. It was so good. Anyway, those are my best and worst romance reads published for the first half of 2017. So I want to find out, have you read any of these books before? And do you agree with my choices? What are your best and worst reads of the year so far? I want to know. So please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I Heart Romance. Thanks for watching and happy reading. Bye.